Here we go, a stroke of scheduling brilliance from the AFL and the networks here. Essendon taking on GWS. This is a matchup we all want on a Thursday night, and we finally get it. Zach, do you think that Essendon can make it worthwhile?
Well, I'm sure this is the last time we'll see Essendon at prime time, so we can live with it for 1 week. Look, you would expect this to be a fairly non-competitive game based on where Essendon are at, their injury concerns, and how well GWS are going. This is as good as they've played all year. So you look at that line there, I think 45.5, I would expect GWS to cover that. I think it's going to be a very one-sided game.
Essendon have 17 players that are not available on their list, which is the biggest we have seen in quite some time.
Can we take the physio for goals in this one?
Yeah, you probably could actually.
The runner
there might be a market for that because the cavalry that they've got down there is really starting to wane, and it's an injury crisis. Let's be honest. I know the word crisis gets thrown around, but that is huge. So that is why we are looking at the GWS Giants goal kicking market, because Cadman, Green, Stringer, Riccardi for 3+. Look, you could almost argue all of them could kick 3+.
Ricky Riccardi. I like it.
Very nice. Okay, well, let's go to our best bets in this one. There's going to be a lot of goals and we expect GWS to win. Where's our advantage?
Lachie Whitfield. So Essendon in our new markets give up more marks than any other team to defenders and also midfielders. So that means I think Lachie Whitfield gets on the end of it and takes a lot of uncontested marks.
I'm looking at Jake Stringer. This game is Jake Stringer revenge game. 3+. He is the type of player that would just absolutely love to kick 3 or more against his old team.
Tom Green dominates against Essendon his last 3 games. I expect him to cover 30+.
Dominates against most of times, Tom Green. I'm going 60+ here. I think there is plenty of value to be found in this one. I just think Essendon are depleted. There's nothing left, but we got them in prime time. Welcome to In the Back Pocket, a massive round of footy coming up. It's all happening. We're going to cover the bets, who's going to win, all that jazz in between. Zach Toohey, Kate McCarthy, Nathan Brown, the outdoorsman. You are getting manlier and manlier by the week, and it is starting to worry us what's in the next couple of weeks.
I've been growing as a man for a long time now. It took me a long time. I was only a little fella back in the day, grade 4, grade 5, but then I had a growth spurt, Zach, and I became a man.
I'm going to try to work out how to compute that one in my head and try to work out what's the appropriate way to deal with it. But before then, we're going to move on. What is your best bet? Now, we do this every week. We're going to check the piggy banks in a moment. The best bet. You have one bet across the entire weekend. What's it going to be?
Jaden Short playing against the West Coast Eagles. Back in, taking Sam Banks' spot again. Banks' drop-off last week had 25, but 23+ disposals at $1.89. He'll take the kick-outs and he will go long.
I've got a little bit of ground to make up, so I'm going to go with Cam Rayner 3+. He does match up well against the Western Bulldogs. They leak a number of goals, but $5.80. We'll see why in a minute when we do look at the piggy banks.
We're 3 weeks into this concept, and you're already starting to go what I would consider a Hail Mary.
I have the worst, I'm not going to say luck, but all of my other best bets for the weekend seem to do fine, except for the one that I put as my best bet for this particular segment. So, I mean, it's
That's what the segment's about.
That's what it's about.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Lights are on. Let's go. Zach, where are you playing?
I've got Big Riley T, I'm choosing to call him. 3+. This was a tense game last time out. Tempers were flaring towards the end. I think he'll have a point to prove. Kicked 5 last time against Mac.
Just give it one go.
I'm a real boy.
You got that?
Give it one go.
What?
His last name.
Riley Thilthorpe.
Yes!
No better than Nono. I'm going with Jack Buller. Now, before you ask who on earth is Jack Buller, he's a forward for the Sydney Swans. Young fella, but he is rolling at the moment. And I'll tell you why I like backing guys like this, because he's starting to get some more game time, 75% accuracy off the boot. He took 2 from around outside 50 last week, straight through the middle. That's the sort of stuff you want. He's going to grow in confidence. I think we're getting some good value with the depleted Swans forward line to get Jack Buller 2+.
It's a good price. Good price. I can't knock it until it doesn't get up. Then we'll knock it. I like it.
But you know what? There's nothing to knock about my pick at the moment. Let's have a look at the piggy banks and where we sit right now, because once again, it's fat as hell down the bottom there. $124. You up the top, Browny, doing pretty well. But Kate, what is happening?
They keep losing. That's what's happening. Haven't got one right yet. Had a void. That was the closest I got to a win. So let's hope this week we get up.
Well, you can follow all these bets, all the other ones that Kate claims to be winners. You can follow them all on the feed as well.
Those are our best bets. That were on the multi last week.
That was. What was the multi paying as well?
$26.
$26 multi. You can find that all on the feed, all the new markets as well that we've got. But let's jump into the report card here for the first game we're going to crack into. It is Brisbane taking on the Western Bulldogs. A good clash.
It's an A. It's an A puntability game. See, when you've got Bailey Dale, Bontempelli, Liberatore, Ed Richards, Darcy to punt on, and then Lockie Neal, Hugh McCluggage, all these players, Dane Zorko at half-back. This is an A game to punt on.
It's a B for me. And do you know who Marco Odermatt is?
No.
He's the world's best downhill skier. And that's what the accusations right now are for the Bulldogs, that they are downhill skiers. If they lose that one, the voices are going to grow even louder.
Well, they do have a very poor record against teams in the top 9. So to say this is a must-win for more reasons than just keeping in touch with the 8, it's their ability to compete with the best teams. So, yeah, you're right.
And they're coming up against right now a red-hot Brisbane Lions who are showing signs of what they did last year with a late-season surge.
Is it fair to say they're second on the ladder at the moment, but they haven't played anywhere near their best football? They played a complete game against Hawthorn. This game they played well for 3 quarters. Carlton outscored them to nothing in the last quarter. Is it fair to say that they're just building and they are getting better and better each week without playing amazing football?
Deja vu.
Yeah. I would say the game against Geelong has probably started this a little bit. Yes, played well against Hawthorn, then a down week again. But since that game in Geelong, where they defeated the Cats, then had the bye, they've been rolling. Their games got really back to what it was, as Hoyney told us on Monday. So the players I'm looking at, though, in this one, the spot that the Bulldogs give up a lot of disposals is to the opposition half forwards or general forwards that get up the ground, because the likes of Bailey Williams, they run off. They don't really hold them to account. So Cam Rayner, I know I've got him for 3+ goals. I also like him for 20+ disposals. No Zach Bailey, so I feel like he gets a little bit more as well of those disposals through that half forward line, and a very nice price as well, $2.10 for him to go 20+.
Cam Rayner about to have a 3-vote game by the sounds of it there. Brisbane loyal as well. So I'm hoping there's no bias.
You do back Cam Rayner a lot.
Yeah.
He's someone that I think...
He's a favourite.
In a game where you need someone to break a game apart, he does stand up.
Who's hot, who's not, Brownie?
Let's have a look at who's not and who's not, because Luke Parker has been very hot. 3 of his last 3. You should have taken him as your best bet last weekend, Zach. Jordan Dawson at 25+ as well. He's been very, very good. And Zach Butters, 4 of his last 6 at 30+. There's no value at the 25+.
Only 3 in the what's hot?
Because that's it. You've got to be good to be in the hot, and who's not. Bailey Dale, he is cold, and he hasn't got a roof on his head this week. Isaac Heaney, been playing well, but hasn't been hitting the 25+. Where you need to play to get the value. Steel side bottom, similar type scenario, and the desk down the bottom, 1 of his last 4.
Oh, he's absolutely rolling at the moment. I'll tell you what, thank God Jai Simpkins out of that one as well. You guys and your new segment has been one of the most well-received things that we've done in a long time. So much so that it keeps coming back every week. Throw to it now, The Bachelor.
And we're back with another edition of The Bachelor. It was so successful, we had to go again. Zach, let's start on Friday night, and we're going to look at a goal kicker, someone that might be a little bit unexpected. We're going to go Hugh McCluggage, $2.25 for an anytime goal. Where are we going, Zach?
Yeah, 5 games in a row he's done it. So this guy is currently in career best form, which is saying something, because he's had a stellar career to this point. You'd have to imagine he's knocking on that All-Australian blazer for the first time in his career. 5 games in a row against a team that struggles defensively up at the Gabba. I'm very happy to go with Hugh McCluggage again.
We like that. Let's go to another Brisbane line. Eric Hipwood, probably someone that's a little less reliable than Hugh McCluggage, although he does have a very good record against the Bulldogs. He's kicked 11 goals in his last 2 against the Dogs, but this season he's only kicked 2 goals in his last 5 games. Are you happy to go with a cross for me?
I'm happy with that, certainly.
All right, next up we have Mitch Georgiades, and we're looking at our new market in the marks category. 6+ marks, $1.70. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, well, you have to be tempted by Mitch Georgiades in most markets offensively for Port Adelaide. He's clearly the main guy in that forward line right now, gets targeted just about as much as any other player in the competition. So when it comes to the marks and goals for Port Adelaide offensively, you have to be happy with Mitch Georgiades.
We'll take that one. And now let's look at Nick Dacos, obviously coming up against Fremantle. We're looking at his disposal line. Unders, 27.5. He got the matchup with Wagner last time, or Tagner as we call him when he does the job. He kept him to just 18 disposals in round 9. Are we thinking the same? We're thinking he goes under?
Well, he'd certainly be mental not to do that tag again. So we think he goes under.
Looks a little bit sore at the moment too. Now we're going to go looking at tackles. Zach Butters. So 6 tackles is the market we're looking at. $1.68. I think personally, with no Horn Francis in there, I think he has to play a bit more of an attacking role. I don't think he hits the 6 tackles.
Yeah, well, he's a highly competent contested player. So my instinct with these markets is, yeah, he'll hit that 6 tackle. But then you look at the history, and you're right, with Jason Horn Francis out, you'd expect he has to run forward quite a bit. So I'm not sure this week I'd be taking 6+.
All right, let's get rid of the 6 tackles then. And our final one, the milestone man, Cal Wilkie, 10 plus marks, his 150th game. He's going to have a pretty tough matchup on Jezza Cameron for his 150th. Where are we sitting, 10 plus?
Well, he did okay last time out against them, but that was at Marvel where St Kilda play incredibly well. Geelong do give up a lot of marks to opposition half-backs. He does accumulate for a key position defender, so I'm actually quite happy to go with Callum Wilkie this week to get 10 plus. I think all the information suggests that he can get there. So for me, it's actually a tick.
Green light on that one, and that is the Bachelor for round 19. Hopefully we found you a few good bets in there.
It is not a Zach Tui segment without a little bit of love for Cal Wiki there. You managed to scrape him in just at the end there, but let's go straight to our Friday best bets.
And Corey Tagner. I really like that as well. Sam Darcy. So 4 of his last 5 games since he's been back, he's kicked 3+ goals. Even last week, 2 goals too, and he had 5 or 6 that he got his hands to, didn't mark it. Andrews, Gardner, Leicester. He is taller than every one of those players. I just don't see a value matchup for him. 3+ Sam Darcy.
And for our little multi, I'll go Cam Rayner again, but just 2+ so that we just get a nice juicy price with our multi.
A lot of Cam Rayner love going on here.
Hugh McCluggage, 5 from his last 5, he's kicked a goal, playing against a team that are open defensively in career best form. I think that's a good price for an anytime goal.
Huge.
I'm going Aaron Norton. I'm going against you. Now, there is a world where they can both kick 3+, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I do think that they're just going to send the entire squad at Sam Darcy and Aaron Norton, as he has done the last couple of weeks.
One of us is going to stuff the multi, aren't we?
One of us is going to stuff the multi, but the glory of this, you can take either side if you want. We're going to be back right after Friday Night Footy. Hope you enjoyed Friday Night Footy. It's time to just shift gears over into some Saturday action in this one. And we kick it off with Hawthorn taking on Port Adelaide. Let's jump into the report card, Brownie.
Well, I think this is a really hard game to bet on. I've given it a C+ at best because low disposal count for both sides, outside Butters and players like that. And I just feel like it's a hard game to punt on.
I think it's a B watchability. And I think I'm about 0 for 7 on explanations with these, but I'm going to try it once more here. Are we aware of what the Beaufort scale is?
Absolutely not.
It is the scale of wind. So they work out what the wind's going to be like. Now, when we look at it, it's going to be at UTAS Stadium over in Tasmania. This one doesn't have a roof. 70% chance of rain. Not looking good. Not looking good at all. Gusts up to 76 kilometres. You know what the Beaufort scale says that is? That's a strong gale. Remember what happened last time? They played in strong winds and terribly rainy conditions.
What happened?
An abomination of a game. And I am worried that we're heading in the same direction.
Well, I'm worried for my first little talking point here about the tall forwards getting on the end of some targets for Hawthorn. But let's have a look at who got the targets last week. And it was Jack Gunston, 13, Marbior Chol, 5, Kel Shadir, who kicked 3 from his 3. But I look at it and I think Jack Gunston's the main man that they will try to defend. And I like Marbior Chol. What do I like about him? He kicks the goals when he gets his opportunity. He's a super set shot a goal, and he's a very, very good value over the top of Gunston. Bit shorter, so I'm happy to go Marbior this week.
Is this a bit of a danger game for Hawthorn, do you think?
I would have said yes if the injuries didn't occur for Port Adelaide that did last week. I'm actually a bit flat with Horne-Francis and Rosie being out of this. It's 2 teams that have such a good rivalry. It was going to be probably a very important game in it still is an important game for Hawthorn in the sense of their season, but it has sort of kind of petered out a little bit with the outs that they have. And Hawthorn, they should get this job done.
No way they'll lose to Port Adelaide again.
They should get it done easily.
I think the last 2 times, they've been embarrassed the last 2 times. So first one was the final when they carried on a bit after the game. And then again, early on this year where Port Adelaide were decimated, nobody gave them any chance. Port Adelaide came out and beat Hawthorn. That would have embarrassed and stung Hawthorn. And you have to think Sam Mitchell's building this game up to say, this is a game we have to win. If we want to play finals, we hate this side. We've got a history against them. Let's just remind them who's going to play finals.
The Hawks didn't tag Sarong last week, let him off the leash. Butters this week, you would think, has to be tagged.
Well, it does feel a bit like a one-man midfield at the minute for Port Adelaide, so there'll be no mystery as to who's going to do the damage for Port, if there's any damage they can do. So I don't think it'll be a hard tag, but I suspect he'll be copping physical contact every possible opportunity because he is the only match winner Port have right now. And I'm with Browny.
A lot, do they?
No, I'm with Browny. I think they'll have a point to prove off the back of it was 10 goals down at half time.
I'm just surprised that you said there's no chance they were going to lose and you haven't taken them as your best bet, maybe at the line or something of that nature.
They're a bit short to take them at that, but I should have thought of that after you're at the Beaufort scale.
The Beaufort scale, I'll tell you what, it's a good judge. Let's jump over to Sydney taking on North Melbourne, because last week, I believe it was your info, North Melbourne, the most tackled team in the competition, and you had Jack Viney at around $2.60 and he rewarded. Who's going to be the edge this week?
Well, let's have a look at that again, because that is the same stat. They rank 18th at tackles. James Rowbottom laid 18 tackles himself last week. So when he comes up against the most tackled side in the competition, you have to think James Rowbottom is going to be tackling a lot of bottoms. Yes, absolutely. So I'm happy to back him again in our tackles department.
You're in a lot of strife if you're a bottom, but Kate, you would expect James Rowbottom to be able to roll through him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's good for 10 plus, which is the market that we're going to look at. And the other player that I like is Errol Goulden. So he loves playing at the SCG. He's only played there twice this year, yes, but he's had 30 and 25 in those 2 games. If we look at his market as well, obviously with our brand new markets, we can go increments of 1 disposal all the way through. I like him for 27 in this one, but you could go 26, you could go 28, you could go all the way up to 30 really, because I feel like they're going to have control of this game. He is going to be a player that they're going to get the ball in the hands of, and I think he gets a lot of it.
The new markets that Sportsbet have brought out, fantastic. But there needs to be some sort of market for clutch time plays. You know, kicking a goal in a game that's within 10 points in the last 5 minutes. Something like that. And I'll tell you what,
how are you meant to bet on that?
How are you meant to bet on that? Well, I've just given you how you do it. If a player kicks a goal within the last 5 minutes of a game that is within 10 points, you can consider that a clutch moment.
With the new markets, the one thing I do love is disposals around that 22, 23, 24 mark. It's amazing how often players get within it. Tackles and clearances, they're nice, but I think the best way to bet with these new markets is that 22, 23, 24 market, and under that, the 16, 17, 18 for the players that don't always get over 20.
Look forward to those X-Factor markets coming in at some point as well. You've cooked one up for Callum Mills.
Yes, well, I do enjoy the new markets, and the benefit of being able to look at things like tackles and marks is you can take players' average stats that they get in every game, pool them together, so each bet individually doesn't feel very risky. So you look at Callum Mills, averages just under 23 disposals, you take him for 22, 5.8 marks, you take him for 6, 1.8 tackles. So those are just his averages on their own. You pool them together, you get a much better price. So Callum Mills for me, 22, 6 and 2.
I like it.
I
like the theory.
$1.25 in just at the end, just to juice it up a little bit, averaging 1.8. I'll take 2 at $1.25. What about Jake Lloyd? If I knew Jake Lloyd was going to spend that much time forward last week, I wouldn't be here today, and I would have backed him. But look, the Swans are in desperate need for a forward right now. They've got Jack Buller and they've got Jake Lloyd.
Found himself out of the team 6 weeks ago. He's come back in and he's played forward, 100% forward the last 2 weeks. And a lot of his goals have been from outside 50. And he's a very, very good kick, as we know. He used to take the kick-outs when he was down back. So I expect him on the back of last week to do it again. But look at that price for 2+. $2.75. I'm happy to take the 2+.
I'd have a nibble at the $18.
I'd go halfway between the two. He kicked 3 last week. I think he's a good chance at kicking 3 again. $7 is a very nice price for that.
Ladder punting. Do you know what ladder punting is?
It's when you go step.
I can't
be bothered explaining it,
but
yes.
You get your stake amount, say if your stake amount's $50 and you work it up through the 2+, 3+, and 4+.
No, he said he knew what it was.
I was explaining it directly to you.
Explain it.
No, so what about this absolute blockbuster as well? Surprised this one wasn't our Friday night clash. West Coast taking on Richmond. Where's our edge here, Kate?
Well, I think we're looking at disposals, and Richmond, they do give up a hell of a lot of disposals. They have all year, especially to midfielders, so ranked 15th in the competition. The player I'm looking at is Harley Reid. Obviously, he's had another week of scrutiny, whether he's playing too aggressive, what he's doing, what he isn't doing. The thing that he is doing, though, he's getting 24+ regularly. So 3 of his last 5, he's had that. He attended the most centre bounces for West Coast Eagles last week. So I like him to go there again. I think the 24+ is what you want to look at. Nearly $2.70 for that one. And you could even sort of look 23, 25. That's where our new markets come in. I like him for 24+.
I am a defender of Harley Reid at any given opportunity.
Yep.
He's a great kid and he's under a huge amount of scrutiny at all times that a lot of players aren't, is unfairly treated. But that trip on the weekend, that's a tough one to defend.
Yeah, he is under a lot of pressure, and he strikes me as the type who plays on the edge, and we've celebrated players like Toby Green and Bailey Smith at the minute is probably in that same ilk. You get away with it when you're playing in a good side and a side that wins. Right now, it just needs to be tempered, and he probably is frustrated. Look, who wouldn't be? You're getting whacked every week. He's copping a lot of attention, so I wouldn't be too worried if I was a West Coast supporter or coach. You might just say, just try and temper it.
There are a lot of people saying that this wouldn't happen at a good club. This wouldn't happen with good senior players, but he doesn't have good senior players around him, does he? He doesn't have all those players that Geelong have right now who could say, okay, mate, just settle down and then push him. Or Collingwood, he doesn't have that. So let him be young, let him figure out, make mistakes, which he's doing, because he's still playing okay football. They're not a great team, so they are going to get belted at times. So let him figure it out himself, and I think he will.
Well, he's got no other big mid to take any attention away from him. So he's getting the brunt of it everywhere.
Harley Reid will figure himself out. Let's figure out our best bets.
Jaden Short will figure out getting a fair amount of disposals in this game. 23 plus for Jaden Short.
I've got Errol Goulden for 27 plus disposals.
No Tristan Sherry. Brody Grundy should dominate this game, 21 plus.
Do we recall what I was talking about with Port versus the Hawks and the Beaufort scale?
The wind thing.
The wind.
Windy, rainy. You know what that equals?
Total points under.
Total points
Like
under.
a
Thank you. I
a
thought you
bad
would have
day.
picked that one up, Brownie. 152 now. It has been priced in. I would like to probably have a little bit more, but we don't get that. But right now, it's time for Daniel Hoyne.
40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40.
Here we go, the man that
40,
lives,
40.
eats and breathes data. Let's start to extract some out of you. Now, the new markets
What's it taste like?
Sportsbet.
Delicious.
Yes, hey, there we go. The new markets at Sportsbet have brought out clearances. Now, there's always a bit of confusion over what exactly a clearance is.
Yeah, no, so we'll talk about that today. And first and foremost, just think about it from a team perspective. The clearance goes to the team that clears the stoppage area and clears it enough by 15, 20 metres away from the actual stoppage area. So think about that first and foremost. The team that clears the ball by 20 plus metres away from the stoppage area. Then the individual, the clearance goes to the player in that team who got that first disposal away. That clears the stoppage area.
So say Liberatore gets hands on the ball, quick little give to Bontempelli, who kicks it inside 50, Libba gets it.
Spot on. So first the team, which team cleared it, then the individual, that goes to who was the player that got that first disposal away. So I think a lot of people would assume in that scenario, Brownie, that it goes to the Bontempelli.
Yeah.
That is actually not the
Good
case.
clarification.
So that's why you can see there that a lot of the clearance winners are those in and under types, a lot of the, contested footy, high handballers that then get it out to the runners. And Caleb Sarong this year, there's no player in the competition that's had 8+ clearances in a game, more than what he has. And we've spoken about on this show the importance of what Caleb does to Fremantle. Gold Coast is so fortunate there to have two that are able to actually dominate a clearance game at any particular stage. So that's where I'll be looking at it. If you think team, then the individual, and then quite often there is actually no clearance awarded at a stoppage. So if a player actually gets a disposal away to UK and then you give it to Brownie, who then gets smothered and the ball's actually gone nowhere, and then there's a stoppage, no clearance. So it has to actually leave that stoppage area first and foremost for a clearance to be awarded.
Don't check your emails on Monday.
So the perfect game this weekend is Gold Coast, who ranked number 1 at clearances.
Good stat that you've come up with.
Very
there, Brownie.
good stat.
I think Adelaide is 17th as well.
And they are 16th at giving up clearances. So that's a very, very good game. I went with that on the AFL website on Wednesday.
No, okay.
We're starting to find out that there's a trail to where your information comes from, and it often starts with Kate McCarthy. Is that
No,
true?
it didn't this week.
So just be careful of teams that don't like to get involved or don't want to get involved in a high stoppage game. GWS is one of them. Collingwood are one of them. They want the ball in transition where the ball's constantly moving. They want the turnover style of the game. Teams like Gold Coast, as you said, are more than happy to get involved in that game and back their sheer, stoppage talent.
I'd definitely be looking at Matt Rowell this weekend. Not only we saw the 8+ clearances, I'd be looking at him for 10+. He had 12 against the Pies last week, so I think he's one this week that you want to be looking at for the clearance numbers.
What about the Saints and Rowan Marshall? Now, he's got Tom de Koning breathing down his neck with this big contracted guy coming in. What's he looking like, especially towards the back end of this year?
Well, his start to the season at round 12, it was actually one of the biggest drop-offs that we've seen of any player from what they were doing in 2024 to what they had already done at round 12, 2025. But over his last 6 weeks, he's back to being that player that we've seen him be for probably 4 or 5 seasons. What he's done in that 6-week period to have 20+ disposals more often than not, his contest and clearance work has reflected what St Kilda have been able to do in that time. They are one of the best contest and clearance teams in the comp, and a lot of it is off the back of him. And the scary thing for Geelong is his record against Geelong recently, he's bullied them. He's dominated them. So round 2 this year, as you just saw there before, 29 disposals, a lot of contest, a lot of clearance. And then that flows on to what St Kilda has done against Geelong in 3 of the last 4 games under Ross Lyon. Because they've been able to win clearance and contest against them, they've simply denied Geelong the footy like we have not seen too many teams been able to do. And a lot of it is off the back of what Rowan Marshall has done. So it's a big day for Reece Stanley on Sunday. This is not an absolute gimme, I don't think, for Geelong, that we expect them just to get this done. Everyone's talking about how easy this draw is. Yes, they don't play any top 9 team, but this one, they should get it done, but it's not a gimme.
Not their best matchup.
If someone like him goes bananas like he has done against Geelong a couple of times, poses a little bit of a threat.
20 disposals and 6 clearance that we just saw on screen, you would have to say that's a real live chance for that price against a team that he's played really well against, a team that hasn't got the traditional big-bodied ruckman. They operate with 2 more mobile types. That's a huge price for somebody like Marshall.
Absolutely.
Give you a chance to eat your own here. Do you think that Reece Stanley can hold up against Rowan Marshall?
Yeah, I think he's 45 and kicks 6. Reece is one of my best friends, so I'm just putting that out.
What about, there's been arguments this year for Shai Bolton to be Recruit of the Year. Does the data back that up?
I wouldn't say Recruit of the Year. I think it'd be, maybe, top 4, top 5, sort of consideration. But the reality is that what he has done against top 8 teams this year, that would be the thing that Fremantle are hanging their hat on. And their record as a club this year, they only played 7 games against top 8 teams. They're 5-2. And a lot of that is off the back of what this guy has done there. And the interesting part to me is against the best, Justin Longmuir has thrown him into the midfield more against the best teams in the competition than what he has done against the bottom 10. So whether or not they're trying to manage him, throughout the season and, spend more forward 50 time against the bottom 10, and then when it comes against the best, we can release you, your body's in good shape, fitness-wise you're going okay, because those numbers reflect they're a player that, should be really, top priority for what Collingwood are considering when it comes to Fremantle this week.
What's the opposite of a downhill skier? I've got a new nickname that I want to throw out for Shai Bolton.
It'd be an uphill
Mountain
skier.
climber.
A chairlift. We call him chairlift.
Oh.
Everyone going with it? Fantastic way to wrap the segment right there. I'll tell you what, enjoy your Saturday of footy.
Like, is this going on here? That sort of crap.
Big Sunday of footy. It's the best day of the week to watch footy. You can just lounge back, recover, and enjoy some great games on offer. One of those, Geelong and St Kilda, where Kate McCarthy is our edge in this one.
We're looking at the key forwards. So obviously it's Cal Wilkie's 150th. Congratulations to him, but he doesn't have many other soldiers down there that are helping him out. And for that reason, they concede a number of goals to the key forwards. And having a look at the targets last week inside forward 50 for Geelong, it's Scratcher Neil, or Cowboy Neil as you like to call him, has been the main focal point for them for a number of weeks now. He had the 9 targets, Jeremy Cameron, Patrick Dangerfield 5, and then Ollie Henry came on as the sub. That's why I am looking at Shannon Neal. I like him for 3+ in this game. I really think, obviously, Caminiti goes to him as the second forward and Jeremy Cameron gets Callum Wilkie. I think he's no matchup for Shannon Neal, and I think he kicks 3 goals.
We were all keen on Shannon Neal. There's a bit of fighting in the group chat over who gets him for the best bet this week. With Jeremy Cameron eventually, out of this side, what's the ceiling for Shannon Neal as a player?
Well, I think the ceiling is very, very high, and I think we're just scratching the surface of how good he can be. I think he's a wonderful mark. He's an athlete, as we saw earlier on in the season. I think it was the Giants game where the ball got kicked out in front of him, and he doesn't miss. He's a very good set shot at goal, whether that's from 30 or he can bang it from 55. So I think they've found something very special in Neal.
Yeah, his athletic profile is off the charts, but he's been allowed to develop in the same way Cadman kind of has been at the Giants, is kind of initially behind Hawke and Jez. Now you've got Jez as the main guy. He's just getting second and third best defender, and his last month of footy's been incredible. It's
dangerous as well. You mentioned Cowboys hanging out with Jeremy Cameron. They're both doing a bit of farming stuff, living a very, very wholesome life. You know what that spells? A key forward that's not going to get in any trouble down the track, and is going to have a good, long career right there for the Cats. But on my run sheet here, it says Brownie's best value of the year.
Well, I think Brian Myers, in that he's been the best value punt of the year. So when you're backing Brian Myers, he plays as that extra midfielder. He goes up and basically has nobody playing him most of the time, unless somebody does go with him. So 5 of his last 6 games at GMHBA Stadium, he's had 23 or more disposals. And that's his disposal line this week. So 22.5 at the moment. I'm going to take that 23 disposals again for Brian Myers because they keep giving us a good price on him. His value is good and he continues to be super consistent at the price. So Brian Myers, best value bet of the year. Just behind him, Jasper Fletcher.
And Brian Myers as well. You look at just the number of disposals, you kick it anywhere, it doesn't matter. But the accuracy of his kicks. Would you have your life as a football player again being a forward, knowing how accurate Brian Myers is?
Yeah, well, he's got that unorthodox kicking style, which almost was a red flag early in his career about whether or not it could stack up with AFL pressure. But he's kind of mastered it, and it is so unpredictable, and it is so deadly going inside forward 50. Leading to him is a joy.
Pies and Freo, no tag zone. Where are you playing?
It won't be. They'll go head-to-head. They both get a lot of disposals, a high disposal game. But when they don't tag, I just look at Brayshaw and I look at Sarong. And their disposal lines, 27.5, seem low for this type of game. So it's going to be in transition a lot. So I'm happy to back them both over the 27.5 because when they play well, Fremantle, these two are in for a lot of disposals.
Do the Pies bounce back? Everyone in the pre-season, certain pundits were saying they're an old list, they're going to fail late in the year. This is late in the year. Are we expecting a bounce back here? No alarm bells?
No alarm bells for me. They're sitting clear on the top of the ladder. I think last week they were very disappointing in the first half, and they said it themselves. They tidied things up. Not many other teams in the competition would have at three-quarter time still been in that game, and they nearly took it from the Gold Coast Suns. A few injuries through their half back line this week, but I think it's probably a more important game for Fremantle to show that they can win on the road, especially at the MCG. We all know where you need to win your games in September if you want to be the premiership favourite. So I think to get a scalp at the G is important for Fremantle at this time of year.
Josh Dacos was nothing short of magical in the fourth quarter through the middle. Yep. Is there a world where we can take advantage of a disposal market potentially coming into this week? Does he get a little bit more time in the middle, rack a few more up?
Well, at the moment, he is the shortest price of all the players, even shorter than his brother this week, Nick Dacos, who might get a tag. I don't mind Jordan Clark at half-back as well, but people have been asking, should we put Josh Dacos in the middle now? And I'm against it to a point because I think half-back's so important. The fact that they've been so good all year with him playing there at half-back, why change it now because he played one quarter, and it's an amazing quarter of football, but are you going to change everything you've done for 18 weeks because one quarter of football showed you an amazing quarter? I don't get it. I think he should play half-back.
I think he actually gets a big uptick in his disposals this week because there's no Dan Houston. So he is the run-off half-back. He will stay at half-back in my opinion, but I think he actually probably gets a little bit more than he has been the last few games because of that.
We start this round in abysmal fashion with a Thursday night schedule. We end it very, very well here with Adelaide taking on the Gold Coast Suns. Let's have a look at the report card. Where are we playing for watchability?
It's an A. It's an A. When you've got players at Adelaide like Jordan Dawson and the three-headed monster, Anderson, Rao, there is so much to punt on, and neither of them really tag, so you can be confident going into it it's going to be high disposals.
You know what I call the Gold Coast Suns at the moment?
What do you call them?
Harmless achiever. I think back to when Richmond won their first flag. We were all sort of going for them a little bit from a supporter base. When GWS made the final, we were all sort of like, oh, you know, it's cute. give them a turn. This is the harmless achiever year as my Beijing watch just falls off my wrist. This is the time where we don't really, you sort of, if your team's out of it, you're kind of going for them at this point of the year.
Yeah.
You're a heartless, ice-cold man, though, so I can imagine why it wouldn't reflect on you.
I think they'll go well, but I don't think they're going to do any damage in September. I think it could be a good couple of years before they do that. I think they need a taste of September football in Melbourne, but this is the sort of game on the back of the heroics of last week that they need to stand up again. It can't be a 5-goal loss. If they get close and it's within a goal, good effort, but they need to start standing up in the big games like they did last week, but away from home.
What about from a punting angle? The clearances been very, very popular, those new ones with Sportsbet.
Yeah, they have been, and this is one where it's sort of, Browny and I like looking at the rankings, and when they all align, it's almost the best team and the worst team in the comp for this one. Gold Coast the best, the Crows the second worst. So we know how good Gold Coast are at clearances, and the one man, or probably two men that are very good through that area. I'm looking at Matt Rao this week. 10 plus clearances, 4 of his last 5 he's achieved that. You might even want to look at 12 plus in this one. He had 12 last week against the Pies as well. And the other one is Noah Anderson. I don't think he probably has the same output as Rao in this game because he plays a little bit more on the outside or a little bit as that second handball from the clearance, but he's also one that you might look at for the clearance line.
Hoyney went through what exactly a clearance is, and I reckon.
Did you know that?
I did know that. I still think there's some grey area, which it always will be with these sort of ones, with these data things, that when you handball to a bit of a contested situation, how much of it is considered contested, how much is it not?
Yeah, I liked it. I like the fact that now you've got a clear path of what it is, but, and again, it's somebody at the ground possibly choosing which one it is.
Well, visually as well, when you see someone just drive it inside 50, you would always think that it's
great
that.
Clearance, yeah.
It's not. Well done, Hoyt. Anyway, it's time for this.
Big Reggie's wonderful multi of wonder.
Is that your voice?
I think they've slowed it down.
Have we ever asked where Big Reggie came from? Have we asked where
Ireland,
the
was
nickname
drafted out of Ireland. Came from.
What's Irish about Reggie?
It's a long story. I was out on a night out in New Zealand and my friends gave me a nickname. Story for another time. Big Reggie's wonderful multi of...
This didn't happen in Ireland, it happened in New Zealand.
It was in New Zealand, yeah.
Right.
I was given out, I never had a nickname, and
now you
Sam
live in
Doherty
Australia.
actually
Did
gave
you
it
try
to
to
me.
go play
You're a bit
rugby?
of a nomad.
Big Reggie's wonderful multi of wonder and goal kicking happiness and joy this week. So we're going first with Shannon Neal to kick 2. Career best form. We did just speak about him. I expect him again to cover that 2-goal line. Look at Jack Higgins then in the same game. Likes playing against the Cats. Kicked 7 in his last 2, including 4 times in his last 5. He's kicked multiple goals. Jamie Elliott, the All-Australian half forward. He has to be the small forward, currently the best in the game. And then Big Riley T to kick 3 in the game of the week.
Oh no!
I'm trying to do a whole...
Oh God, help me! If I had attempted that, it would have been chaos. Right now, Riley Thilthorpe. Do we reckon he's in All-Australian form?
Yeah, if I was picking the team now, I would say he is in the All-Australian team. I think Jesse Hogan and Jeremy Cameron are the 3 keys, and then you probably put Jamie Elliott and Jordan Dawson with Cozzy Pickett. I think that's your forward line currently.
Was there ever a time in your career, Nathan, that you knew you had made the All-Australian team and you went into the final round of the year and you did not care and you just mailed it in?
It did happen, and I told you that during the break. It's probably not a thing to bring up, but you did used to find out the All-Australian the week leading into the last round of football.
Okay, Sunday best bets. Where are we playing?
I'm going to go Jordan Clark. So for all the reasons we spoke about Fremantle and Collingwood before, there's no tags in this game. It's going to be open and free. 3 of his last 4, he's had 30 or more disposals. He's got tagged one of those games. He had 13. So I think he gets a fair bit of it.
Shannon Scratcher, Cowboy Neal, 3+ for him. That's where we're going. Throw all of his nicknames out there if anyone's got any more, but that's what we've gone with, 3+.
Yeah, I've got Big Riley T to kick 3
Nice,
for
Riley
me.
T. You don't want to give it a chance. I'm going with Josh Dacos, 30+. I think that, as we said, Houston out, he's going to get a whole lot of the ball. So just confirming, Shai Bolton, the nickname, the chairlift, is not going to catch on.
I don't mind.
Give it a week.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. You catch us on the feed. Enjoy the footy.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.